Okay, should we start? Are we ready? Okay. Let's start. Good evening, everyone. Tonight's shiur is called, Can We Reach the Unattainable? Can we achieve the impossible? Is there such a thing? People often say and write, you can do whatever you want to do, you can achieve whatever you want to achieve. Is that really a possibility? Can we really indeed do it? I must tell you that before I came tonight, my daughter asked me, Abba, are you coming? Chanela asked me, are you coming to the art fair? There's an art fair in school. So I said, no, I have a shiur. She says, what? Is the shiur more important than my art fair? And I look at her and I say, you want to know the truth? Yes, it is. Anyway, so they're at the art fair. One of the difficult episodes of the Torah is the episode of the spies, where Moshe Rabbeinu sends 12 spies, representative of each tribe, to go scout the land, bring a report. The idea behind it from Moshe Rabbeinu's perspective was twofold. On the one hand, to excite the people, that they should come back and tell them about the greatness of the land, both physical and spiritual. And on a physical way, because everything we do must be drawn down in a physical way, because God created us in a physical world, so all of the blessings must be drawn down in a physical way. We must take physical steps for God's blessings. We must create a vessel for God's blessings, like sustenance. There's no doubt that the Almighty sustains all mankind. But we have to take steps. On the one hand, we believe in God. On the other hand, we take steps. We go to work. We do what we need to do. So to Moshe Rabbeinu, sent them to see which way is best to conquer. Which way is best to conquer. The blessing and the achieving would be from Hashem. 10 of them came back with a negative report, and 2 of them, Caleb ben Yefuneh and Yehoshua ben Nun, come back with a positive report. I want to draw your attention to when they come back with a negative report. Vayashu mitur haaretz miketz 40 yom. They returned after scouting the land for 40 days. Vayelchu vayavo el Moshe vel Aharon vel kol adat bnei Israel, and they went to Moshe Rabbeinu, to Aaron, and obviously the people were gathered, or people were waiting to see what the report is, what's going on. Vayashivu otam davar vet kol ha'edah. And they answered, they gave their report, Vayarum et pri haaretz, and they also showed them the fruits of the land. Before, it says how the fruits were gigantic. Vayisapiru lo, and they told him, meaning they directed these words to Moshe Rabbeinu, Vayomru, and they said, because Moshe Rabbeinu was the one that sent them, and he gave them direct instructions what to look out for. And they said, Banu el haaretz asher shelachatanu. We came to the land where you have sent us. V'gam zabat halav udvash hi v'zeh pirya. And indeed, it is a land flowing with milk and honey. It's a blessed land. It's flowing with milk and honey. Unbelievable things to be found there. And these are the fruits. Big fruits. Efes ki az ha'am hayoshev ba'aretz. However, the nation that sits there is very fierce, and fortified cities they live in, and there are giants, and people there are giants. They're strong, they're giant, they're very, very courageous and big people. And Amalek is there as well, and Amalek was a very fierce opponent to the Jewish people, and very fierce combatants. Vayas Kalev et ha'am. Kalev immediately quietened the people. He quietened the spies. Still, Vayomer, and he said, Alona ale, we shall surely go up, v'yarashnu ota, and we shall inherit it, ki yachol nuchal la, for we can surely achieve it. What's he talking about? The people just came back and they said a report. It's a land filled with milk and honey. It's a great land. And the people there are fierce, they're fierce warriors, they're strong people, courageous people. The cities are fortified. There are giants there. That's all they said. Why did Kalev quieten them? What did they say wrong? What did they do wrong that he felt that he had to quieten them? And he said, no, we shall surely go up. They never said that we can't surely go up. Notice, only afterwards it says, V'anashim asher alu imo, and the people that went up with him into the land, i.e. the 10 other spies, Amru lo nuchal la'alot el ha'am, we cannot go up against this nation, ki hazaku mimenu, for they are stronger than us. Only later did they say, no, we can't enter the land. No, we can't conquer the land. They're too strong. In other words, he quietened them prematurely. Why did he quieten them at that point? Why didn't he wait and see the full report, what they had to say? Because surely they must have been leading somewhere, good or bad. We cannot tell. How can he tell that they were going in the wrong path? How can he tell that why did he see a need to quieten them, still them, and not only that, but to say, we shall surely go up. And we can surely do it and achieve it. Obviously, from their words, he suspected that they were already going in the wrong path. How come and why? The answer to this lies in the order by which Moshe Rabbeinu, don't forget, one of the mistakes that they did was that they gave an opinion. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't ask for an opinion. They came and they said, we can't conquer the land. Moshe Rabbeinu didn't ask for an opinion. He just said, go give us a report and we'll decide what to do. Give us a report. Your mission is to go and give a report, not an opinion. By giving an opinion, you are negating everything that God promised. God promised, this is our land. God promised it. What business of yours is it to give an opinion? It's God's business to be able to allow us to enter the land. He made this promise. And even if you think that there's difficulties here, did you not just leave the land of Egypt, that there was the most hardened place in the world, the most hardened king in the world, the most strongest and powerful king in the world? And not only that, it was through great miracles. Did you not receive the Torah through great miracles? Did you not experience the splitting of the sea? Did you not have man for 40 years falling every day without fail? Did you not have water? So how is it possible that they can even give such an opinion when they experience the grace of God and the miracles of God on a regular basis, on a daily basis? So that's one of their mistakes, and we spoke about it once. But they did not yet give an opinion. And Caleb already stopped them. Caleb already quieted them and said, hang on, stop. We are able to conquer. We are able to go up. We shall surely inherit the land. What did he see? How did he know? How could he tell that something suspicious is going on and which direction they're going? The answer is very interesting, because Moshe Rabbeinu, they answered in the reverse order. Moshe Rabbeinu asked them to give a report in a particular order, and they answered in the reverse. Moshe Rabbeinu asked them, go and see the land and the people of the land. Go and check out what type of people they are. And only then did he say, go and see the fruits, go and see what type of blessings. They changed the order around. They focused first on the blessings. The land, it's a beautiful land. Moshe Rabbeinu, it's a beautiful land. It's got so much rewards, it's got so much plenty. But the people are strong. When Yoshua heard the reverse order, he understood that there's a problem here. The focus is changed. What's the focus? The focus is on the reward. If the focus is then just on the reward, then a person will always think to himself, well, is the effort worthwhile? If you're focused only on the physical aspect of it, then you will think to yourself, well, hang on a minute. All right, so I get this, and the reward is great, and it's a land flowing of milk and honey, or whatever it is that we feel that is right to do, and we start to think, well, what's the benefit for me? What's the benefit? Well, if I do this, I'll get this blessing, or I'll get that blessing, but it's very hard, or I'm giving up so much, or I have to do so much to earn this blessing. Is it worth the while? Is the effort consummate with the blessing? When Caleb heard that, he understood that they were on the wrong track. He understood that this does not bode well at all. Because they're focusing on the reward, they're focusing on the physical dimension of Eretz Israel, of the land of Israel, and not the spiritual dimension of the land of Israel. And if that's the case, then there lies danger. The lesson for us is also a very important lesson, because in life we always weigh up the odds. What's worthwhile for us, what's not worthwhile for us. We know what's right, we believe in Hashem, but we think to ourselves, well, what's the flip side? Well, if I do this, that's the right thing to do. Do I get a reward for it? Don't I get a reward for it? But even if I get a reward for it, the effort is so much. I'll take my chances. Yom Kippur will come and we'll ask for forgiveness, and it'll be okay, and everything will be sweet and dandy, and I'm a good person, and surely Hashem knows that I'm a good person, and I don't, kill and steal and all of that stuff, so I'm sure God will forgive me. And all of these arguments, every one of us has their own arguments. I don't have to teach you, you probably know better than me, and I have my arguments, it's better than yours. We all have beautiful ideas and beautiful concepts. That is a dangerous path to lead. That is not the path of spirituality. That is not the path that leads us to succeed in what we need to achieve in life. We will not achieve our goals with such an attitude. And therefore Caleb knew straight away, they reversed the order. They focused more on the reward. He understood then that since they're focusing on the reward, and then they are speaking about the difficulty of the people, the difficulty of the nation, he understood that they're now probably engaged in some sort of battle, emotional, intellectual battle. Is it worth our while? And that was how he knew, and that was why he automatically quietened the nation, the people, the 10 other spies, and he was proven right, because right afterwards, what did they say? No, we cannot conquer the place. We cannot conquer the land. So he was right, because they challenged him. Then we have another obvious item that we need to focus on. And that is, later on we learn that when Caleb and Yoshua, after they gave a negative report, and the people were very distraught, and they were upset, and what's going to be, and are we going to be slaughtered by these people? Better we die here, better we go back to Egypt. And Caleb and Yoshua tried to quieten the people and give them some assurances, but they failed. Why did they fail? Why did Yoshua the first time people listened to him, and he was able to quiet them and give them some assurance? And later on it says that when they wanted to quiet them down, it failed, and not only failed, they wanted to stone them. They were so upset at them, they were so disappointed. What are you telling us? What are you, mad? What are you throwing us to the dogs? You're throwing us to the lions then? That's how disappointed and upset they were with what they're telling us. You're telling us the impossible. And they were upset at them. They wanted to stone them. That's how bad it was. How come they didn't want to stone Caleb when the first argument? How come he was able to quieten them, and the second time they weren't able to quieten them? What was going on here? What was the success of Caleb that he was able to quieten them, to still them? And we don't see that they wanted to stone them, and we don't see that there was a big frenzy in the nation. It seems that they paid heed, they listened. They were comforted by his words. But then the 10 other spies came along and said, no, we cannot conquer it, etc., 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 with all of their arguments. And only then did they get into a frenzy. So Caleb was successful to a great degree. If it wasn't for the fact that the 10 other spies went on and cooled the enthusiasm, not only cooled the enthusiasm of the Jewish people, but also, in fact, turned their hearts against entering the land of Israel. Later on, they failed. Why both of them failed, and why Caleb was successful in the first instance. There's a subtle difference between the two. There's a subtle difference between how Caleb and Yoshua addressed the nation the second time, and how Caleb addressed the nation the first time. It's a big difference. It's subtle, but it's a major difference. When Yoshua addressed and Caleb addressed the nation the second time, trying to calm them and trying to give them confidence and faith and some courage and some comfort, they failed. Because predominantly they tried to discredit their arguments. They tried to say, no, we will succeed, we will go this way, we'll go that way, it's okay. Sar tzilam alehem, the divine protection is not upon them. Or as some say, that the righteous person, we know that righteous people protect the city, the righteous person in that city died, and they no longer have that merit. So you have nothing to worry about. They used logical arguments, things that are based upon reason. Since God wants us to enter the land of Israel, so they don't have any divine protection. So you have nothing to worry about. Yes, they're strong. Yes, they're big. The cities are fortified. Whatever you want, all good and fine. But God commanded us to go, and their protection has been removed. Since the protection has been removed, they will be exposed, and we will be able to attack, and we'll be able to... It didn't work. When Caleb spoke, he didn't use logic. He didn't use any arguments. In fact, he didn't even negate and said, oh, what you're saying is all wrong. The people are not as strong as you think. He didn't say any of that. What did he say? He simply said, Alo na'aleh v'yadashnu ota ki yachol nuchal. We shall surely go up. We shall inherit it, for we can surely achieve it. He didn't contradict. He didn't give any reasoning. He didn't give any logic. He just was so convinced. He just had a powerful conviction that that's the way it is and that's the way it's going to be, that he shut them up because of his faith, because of his conviction. It was so powerful, it was so convincing. The proof is that if it would have come with logical debate, logical reasoning, he would have failed. The proof is later on, when Yoshua joined to try and calm the people, and they tried to use logic and reason to try to debunk the reasoning of the 10 spies, to try and to delegitimize their argument, they failed. Their argument was stronger than their argument. They failed. But Caleb, he didn't go with argument. He didn't go with logic. We are going to go. And his power of conviction convinced them, calmed them. If it wasn't for the fact that the 10 spies came along and continually badgered the people and took away their enthusiasm and spoke negatively about the land and said that we cannot conquer the land, they're too strong for us, he calmed them, he comforted them. They were quiet for a while. They listened to him because of his conviction. And this is the difference between pessimism and optimism. Quite often, pessimism, what's the difference between pessimism? Someone is a pessimist and someone is an optimist. It's not necessarily based upon objective reality, but the person's conviction and faith in Hashem. There was a story about two people who won the lottery, or got an inheritance, and both of them figured that, I don't need it now, I'll save it for a rainy day. And each one went to bury it 50 steps north, 50 steps to the right, The tree over here will be a sign from that tree. Take 10 steps forward, takes it that. Next to a tree, each one buried their treasure for a rainy day. One of them was an optimist. Buried it there, forgot about it. If I need it, I know it's there. Lived his life happily ever after. The other one was a pessimist. He took all precautions, he buried it at night, to the right, to the left, to this, to that, and put it there. He couldn't sleep the next night. Maybe someone saw me, maybe someone took it, what's going to be? The whole treasure that I got, now I won't be able to support my family, The next night he decides he's going to go and check it and see. Make sure nobody saw him, make sure that... And he went to the left, to the right, and he counted 2 steps wrong. And he dug, and his world fell apart. The world came tumbling down on him. Why? Because he didn't find it. But the treasure was there all along. He just didn't find it. And he lived a miserable life. The optimist, someone actually looked at him and followed him and was suspicious. Where's he going in the middle of the night? And he looked from a distance and he saw that he's burying a treasure. And right afterwards, he went and he took the treasure and he sold the treasure. But because he was an optimist, he always lived that he has a backup. He has a backup, but right now Hashem helps him and continues to help him, and he's okay and he's fine, and he never needed it, and it was gone. In other words, he never relied upon it, never needed it. His optimism and his faith in God is what carried him through. And really it's what carries us through life all the time. We always worry, what's going to be, what's this, and somehow things sort themselves out, and quite often, if not always, in manners that we least expected, least thought, or we never thought about that, and we never expected it. And that's the way it is in life. It's not based upon the reality, because if we think about the reality, this guy, the treasure wasn't there. And this guy, the treasure was there. But the fact is that he was always worried, and he was a warrior. Different type of warrior, but he's not a courageous warrior. He was a worrisome warrior. And he lived a miserable life. Caleb had this strong conviction. He believed without a doubt that we're going to achieve, and we're going to inherit the land. What's interesting is he says, "Alo na'aleh." Go up, we shall surely go up. Rashi says, what type of expression is this? Go up, we shall surely go up. What are we talking about here? Rashi says, even if one of the things that he was telling them, even if Moshe Rabbeinu tells us to climb up the heavens, we will go there. We will surely succeed. That would be the last thing, frankly, that I would tell them. A worried nation, he have 10 spies, they're about to say a negative report, and he's telling them, and they're saying how the people are strong, and he's telling them, no, don't worry. Even if we have to climb up to the heavens, we'll get there. That would be the last thing that I would say. That would be the worst politically correct thing to say. You don't say that. What are you telling him? You're going to achieve the impossible? You can't achieve the impossible. What madness is he telling them? Alon aleh, we shall go up. Even if we have to go up to the heavens, we'll go and we'll succeed. That's exactly the point. Because of his great conviction, because of his faith, he was able to convince the nation. Not because of the seeming reality, because life is not based upon the reality of how we think things are. This is one of the main reasons why the great declaration that we make of, Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. And when we say the Lord is one, we don't mean that the Lord is one, that God is one, there is only one God and not two and not three, God forbid. We mean that the Lord is one, there is only God. The oneness and unity of God is such that everything is included within God's consciousness, that there is only God truly. It's not that there's God, and then there's me, and then there's the sun, there's the world, and there's trees, and there's this and that, and there's also a God in the world. It means that there's only God. And when we do this declaration, when we say this declaration, we cover our eyes, because it's impossible to concentrate upon this concept when we see and look at the words with fleshy eyes and we judge things according to our reality. We must enter God's reality, so to speak. And if we enter that type of reality, that level of faith, then seeming what we, with our fleshy eyes, think is impossible, is really reality and is not impossible. And we can reach the unattainable. And that's how he was able to convince them. Because that's the truth of the matter. That's the fact. And when you come with a strong conviction, when you believe in something, and I've seen this in my life many times, someone can come with the most flowery, elegant exposition about something, based on logic, upon this, and then there's someone that comes with an absolute conviction, with an absolute faith, with an absolute confidence. Who do you think is the one that convinces the most? Who do you think the one is the one that grabs you the most? It's the one that comes with an absolute conviction, because he's willing to put everything on the line. The other ones, logic makes sense. This is what we should do. This is how we should go about it. This is this. This is that. But this one, he's put his whole heart and soul into this. Something convincing about that guy. A guy comes along with a beautiful resume, and everything is nice, tick-tock, yes, I learned here, I did this, I'm able to do this, I'm able to type that, I'm able to that, I can do this program and that program. And then someone comes along and sweeps you off your feet, because of the conviction, believes in what he does, or believes in the job that he's applying for, the project that is involved. And he sweeps you off the feet because he believes in it so much. And that captivates you, that captures your soul. And that's the reality. That's the reality. The reality is God runs the world. But if we live a very constrained life, then that's how that becomes our reality. Therefore, when Yoshua and Caleb came with logical arguments, they failed. Because these logical arguments were stronger than these logical arguments. But when Caleb the first time came with faith and with strength and with absolute conviction, he blew them away. He swept them off their feet. He was able to quieten them down. They were comforted because of his belief, because of his conviction. And it's always been like that. It's been those with conviction and faith that have been able to carry our people. And it is only when we when we live our lives according to conviction and according to faith and what's right, with an absolute belief in that what's right, what we must do, that we succeed in our lives as well. But when we go with logic and what makes sense, and does the reward, is it worthwhile the effort, and should I be doing this, and it's too much, or it's too little, or whatever, the reward is too little for the effort is too much, the reward is nice. That's already basing your life upon logic. You're basing your life upon how you see things and your perceived reality. That's not God's reality. The way we look at things is not God's reality. It's a perceived human reality. We cannot fathom and understand God, the creator of heaven and earth. But if this is how we choose to live, divine providence is dependent upon how we choose to live. If you choose to live with divine providence with an absolute conviction, you will see divine providence in the hand of God. If not, if you live your life believing that there is a God, but your reality is the physical reality, the concealment of God, you live with the concealment of God, that to you is the reality. Yes, there is a God somewhere up above, somewhere at a distance, but reality is reality. Let's get real. Life is life. In such a case, then you live with what? You live with the concealment of God, not with the revelation of God. You don't seek the revelation that exists behind everything, then you live with the darkness, you live with the concealment, and that is your reality, and that is what you will see. It doesn't mean to say that God doesn't guide you, and God doesn't bless you, and God doesn't love you, but you will not see the divine presence in a revealed way because you have not sought to reveal it. That is your reality. What's called, the Kabbalists called Tzimtzum. You live in the world of constraint, of limitations. And we can achieve so much more than that. But we put so much limitations. Look at the imagination of a child. We, as adults, unfortunately, inhibit the imagination of children. No, don't do that. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't think this. You can't think that. It's impossible. Why is it for children, when we speak to them about God, They have an unbelievable perception of godliness. They're able to accept, children are not stupid. There are many things that they'll ask you and they'll catch you on. They say, why did you do this? Or how come you said this? How come you did this? But when it comes to God, they're able to somehow connect to God in a real and innocent and pure way. Because they don't have the limitations that we as adults place upon ourselves, the constrictions that we place upon ourselves, and the logic that everything has to fit within our perception of reality. So the other question is now, how was Caleb, was able to be so convincing and not Yoshua? Yoshua, the disciple of Moshe Rabbeinu, wasn't able to be as convincing as Caleb, and Caleb was. Where did he get that conviction, that strength, and that ability to convince others? Before we get to there, I'd like to mention to you that we have what's called garments of the soul, and we have the soul. What's garments of the soul? Garments of the soul is thought, speech, and action. Thought, speech, and action, garments are external, right? They're not intrinsic. My thoughts, my speech, and my action are not intrinsic to my soul. They are garments by which the soul expresses itself. Thought comes from emotions. Emotions are fueled by the mind or intellect. Thought is different than the mind or the thought itself. The wisdom itself. And wisdom, or the concept of intellect in general terms, is powered by the soul. It says that the seat of the soul predominantly lies in the mind. In Chokhmah, Binah, Vedat, in our ability to understand, to perceive, and to know. Thought is just a mechanism of how all of these things are expressed. So is speech, and so is deed. They are the garments of the soul. There are more external garments, more internal garments. The most external garment is action. When we do something, it's an expression of how I feel, or what I want to do, or what I'm thinking, what is right to do, or even what I want to do, what I desire to do, and it's wrong. Deeper than that is my speech, because it's very much related to my thoughts and my emotions. But it is a garment, and it is external, less external than deeds, less external than deeds, but more external than thought. Now, we are able only to think and to feel to a certain degree. However, that's only, or do or speak a certain amount. But that's only in the garments of the soul. The soul itself is so much more powerful than that. The soul is basically telling us, take as much as you want. There's unlimited blessings, there's unlimited talents, there's unlimited capabilities that you have. Take. It's like a king comes along and he tells you, here's my treasure house. Go take whatever you want. Take. You've got an hour, you've got 2 hours, God tells us you have 120 years in this world. You've got thought, speech, and action, how it expresses itself, you've got your ability to think, and everyone has different talents. But when you access the soul, the soul is unlimited. The soul is saying, take as much as you want. You think you can't do this, you can do this. If you really want to understand something, especially when it comes to Torah, because Torah is a gift from God, it's dependent upon our will and our desire. The Talmud says that every single individual has a certain destiny, whether you're going to be wise, whether you're not going to be so wise, whether you're going to have this talent or that talent. But if you want to understand something, even if you're not wise, some of our greatest scholars were not very wise, but they had a desire to learn. They had a desire to understand God's Torah. And desire comes from the soul. That's an unlimited power. And when you access your will to study something or to do something or to do a mitzvah, not from logic, not well, does it make sense? Is it worth my while or not worth my while? Can I do it? Can't I do it? I don't have the skill, I don't have the talent, I don't have the... You've lost. But when it comes from your will, the power of will, that comes from the soul. The soul says, take. So it's like someone saying basically to the king, oh, it's okay, I'll just take a little bag's worth. I'll just take a little lunch bag's worth of your jewels and treasures. Thank you very much. The king is saying, take, I love you so much. Take as much as you want. Go and take it home. No, thank you. Just thank you. Just a little bit will do for me. Thank you very much. Anybody would do that? Nobody would do that. I'd be shoveling it. I'd be bringing the shovel and the wheelbarrows and all my kids as well. I'll share some of the spoils with them, but certainly bring them all. And when it comes to the soul, we don't. We put blockages. No, I can't. No, I don't want. No, I hear. No, that. And we apply our perceived reality, which is so limiting. Access the soul. Access the will. And here you have an unlimited channel of blessings and talent that you can achieve so much more greatness. And that is what Kalev came with. He came with this power of the soul, the conviction. He didn't need any arguments. He didn't need logic. And they felt it and they knew it. It's like I'm trying to explain to you that this flower, this rose or this flower looks like this, looks like that, and I'm trying to convince you this way, and someone's trying to convince you, well, no, the rose, it feels like velvet. No, the rose feels like this, and you're getting different arguments which way, and you're trying to think, well, this one sounds a bit more logical, I can relate to them. And then someone comes along and says, here's the rose, have a look at it. And you see it. Nobody can convince you otherwise because you saw it. You touched it, you felt it, you smelt it. Nobody can convince you otherwise. Nobody can convince me that this table has one leg and it stands on one leg. And it's green. Nobody can convince me, no matter how logical he is, because I saw it with my own eyes. When Kalev came with his conviction, this conviction is something that he saw, that he felt, and he was able to rub it off on others. And if only they held on to that, for that moment, for those few moments they did. But then came the other spies, and then they tried to bring them down with their perceived reality. And this is the facts. Hey guys, these are the facts. Don't argue with the facts. This is reality. No, that's your perceived reality. That's not God's reality. And that's where they failed. And that's where the disappointment came in. So an important lesson in life. When we are to embark on the will of God and what we need to achieve, I'm not telling you what other people tell you, that you can achieve anything you set your mind to. I'm not telling you that, because I don't know whether you can do it or not. I don't know whether that was your destiny. To be the most successful, or to be CEO of Apple. Because you want to, not necessarily you will. But when it comes to our obligation in this world, to fulfill God's will, to come close to Him, which is the greatest thing that we can ever do, and the reason why our soul came down to this world, there surely alona aleh. We shall go up, and we can go up, and even if we need to climb up to the heavens. What do you mean climb up to the heavens? What type of argument is that? That's impossibility. No, when it comes to God's will, it's God's perception. It's not our perception. It's not our reality, it's God's reality. And if He commanded us, that means we can do it. That means we can achieve it. He believed it, He saw it, He felt it, He touched it, He smelt it. And because of that, He was able to convince them. But the others then brought them down. That's that niggling voice that we have in us. Yeah, but maybe not. But maybe I can't. As soon as you go there, you've lost it. You've lost it. Go with that gut feeling. I always tell my kids, whenever you have a challenge, it all starts, don't tell me you're going to try. Tell me try. That means you try. Maybe I can. Maybe I can't. Maybe there'll be a stumbling block. Worthless. Forget it. Don't worry about it. But when you tell me I'm going to do it, and I want to do it, you will succeed. Because why do people say I'll try? Because they don't want to fail. They don't want to fail. They don't want to look to be a failure to others, but more importantly to ourselves. So we said, we'll try. What's the worst? I'll try, give it a go. Went, didn't go, that's it. I never said anything, I never promised anything. That's the worst thing you can do. Say, I'm going to do it. And even if you fail, you pick yourself up. When you say you try and you failed, you won't pick yourself up. Chances are you won't pick yourself up. But when you say, I'm going to do it, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is the right thing, and you start with the conviction, the absolute strong conviction that this is what I want, and this is what I'm going to do, you will succeed. And if circumstances or at that moment, that will that you had or that desire wasn't as revealed as when it was, or as it should be, you will re-arouse that will or that desire, and you will pick yourself up. Today, tomorrow, you'll pick yourself up. And you will succeed, and you will reach your goal eventually. But when you start with the logic, when you start with the box, this is what I can do, this is how much I can go, and you don't expand the box, then you're bound to fail. This was the power of Caleb. This was his success. And this is our success as well, when we access the nefesh, the soul, the spirit. Then we can achieve much more. And the Spirit tells us, take. Not every one of us are scholars. Not every one of us are able to understand deep things. But every one of us can pray. Because we all have a heart. We all have emotions. We all know what sincerity is and truth is. We can all pray. Why don't we? Why don't we pray with all of our hearts? You don't need to be a scholar. You don't need to be a tzaddik. You don't need to be a rabbi for that. You don't need to be righteous for that. You don't need to be... Because we place limitations upon ourselves. The nefesh says, take. And we say, no, thank you. I've had enough. So I'm taking enough. Thank you. I don't want to trouble you anymore. I don't want to... So what was the success of Caleb more than Yoshua, the disciple of Moshe Rabbeinu and the future leader of the Jewish people? How did he succeed more? How did Caleb succeed more than Yoshua? The answer is very simple, and also is one of the most important lessons that we can ever learn. But before I get to that, I just want to point to us an interesting Gemara in Masechet Megillah. The Gemara in Masechet Megillah says like this. It's a Mishnah. Someone comes up to you and says, Yagati velo matzati. Someone comes and tells you in the service of God, in the study of Torah, in the service of God, in the realm of spirituality, I toiled, but I did not find success. Don't believe it. Someone who comes to you and tells you, I didn't toil, but I was successful, I found success. Don't believe him. But someone who comes along and tells you, Yagati umatzati, I toiled and I found success, I reaped the rewards of my toil, ta'amin, believe him. What does it mean? It means that if someone tells you, I tried but I failed, he didn't try. If someone tells you, I was successful and I never tried, he wasn't successful. But if someone tells you, I toiled, I tried because that's what I wanted to, and I persevered, and I was successful, believe him. He's saying the truth. What's interesting is the word, Yagata, you toiled, umatzata, and you found. It doesn't say you succeeded, it says you found. What does it mean you found? What does it mean you found? Have you ever found $20, $50, $100? You ever found a diamond or something of value in the street? You ever found something? Something of big value? Yeah? Not really? You want the lucky ones? I suggest you buy a metal detector. You find something. You find a ring. You find a diamond. You find, I don't know what, a wad of cash. No signs there. You can't return it. Beautiful. Was the value constituent to your effort? Yes or no? Yes or no? I just bent down to pick it up and I got myself a $50,000 diamond. How long does it take you to work for $50,000 or to save $50,000? How long? A couple of years it takes you to save $50,000? And here, you got it here. All you did is you bend down and you pick it up. In Hebrew, that's called mitziyah, a find. A find is not consummate with your effort. It's like a present. Someone gives you a present, he loves you. Here's a present. God gave you a present. Here it is. It's not consummate with your effort. You put minimal effort, it's like a find. You found it. You didn't harvest it. You didn't reap it. You didn't sow it and save. That takes years. You just found it. The Torah uses the expression, you toil. Not only will you succeed, but it will be compared to like a find. In other words, it will so surpass any of your expectations. You thought that you can only do so much. True, you can only do so much. But God only asks so much. And don't think that the reward that you're going to get is going to be consummate with your effort and so much, because all He can do is so much. But what God gives you is so much. Because all He asks is your effort. What you can do. What you're going to find, well, that's totally different. So Kalev tells them, even if we have to go to the heavens, we shall surely go up. Can I go up to the heavens? I can't go up to them. But when you try, you can. In other words, spiritually, when you try, you can even touch the heavens. When you start off with that attitude, then what ends up happening is, we will inherit the land. What did he say? For we shall surely can, and we shall inherit the land, for we surely can. But he starts off with that important lesson. Even if we have to go to the heavens, meaning to say, if you start off with the point of uplifting yourself spiritually, that you can achieve much more than what you ever think you can, that will translate to physicality as well. So what was the difference between the attitude of Kalev and Yeshua? Why was Kalev able to see this or feel this or be so convincing where Yeshua not? The answer lies in the effort. Yeshua didn't put in any effort. Not that he wasn't great, he was a giant. But he didn't put any effort. How did they survive? 10 people saw, their perception is that, wow, this is going to be hard work. This is going to be an impossibility. And how did two not see their reality? How were they able to maintain their composure and to see things the way Moshe Rabbeinu wanted them to see, and to see things the way God wanted them to see? How? 10 failed. 10 failed and 2. And 2 succeeded. How? Because Yoshua was a very humble man. And Moshe Rabbeinu was concerned because of humility, he will go along with the majority. So he prayed on his behalf, and he added one of the letters of God's name. And he said, God will bring to you salvation. So he had Moshe Rabbeinu's protection. So that came from above. It didn't come from his own toil and effort. Therefore, it did not shake his very core. It didn't come from his innards. He didn't work, he didn't toil for it. Because you didn't work and toil for it, you weren't able to convince others. But Kalev was different. Kalev, it says, he was very concerned. He already had misgivings of what's going on in the very beginning. So he broke off from the ranks, and he went and prayed in Hebron. That's why later on he was rewarded as an inheritance. Hebron, God gave him Hebron, where our ancestors are buried. He said, something here is not right. I don't know, I feel that they're not going in the right attitude. I'm going to stop off, I'm going to detour, I'm going to stop off at the graves of Abraham, Isaac, Yaakov, Sarah, Rivka, and Leah, and I'm going to pray there. And he prayed with all of his heart, and he prayed with all of his might. In other words, the protection that he sought and that he achieved was from his own steam, was from his own efforts. And because it was from his own efforts, the achievement or the inner impact that it had upon him was total, was complete. And therefore, when he spoke to the people, it was convincing because it came from him. Yoshua, in contradistinction, was given it as a gift. That protection was given as a gift. He was saved from the Meraglim because of his other great quality, and that is his humility. Because he was so humble, he was just such a humble person. So Moshe Rabbeinu gave him that extra blessing. But that blessing didn't come from within, it came from above. It was superimposed. Since it was superimposed, he wasn't able to convince others because it wasn't his. It wasn't his. It's like when you buy a vessel and when you make a vessel. You buy a vessel, it cracks, and never mind, I'll get another one. Even though that one that cracked is more expensive than the one that you made, you have an attachment to the one that you made because you invested your talents and your soul into it. And that shatters, that cracks. Oh, that's a real loss. That's a real shame. Because I invested. I remember every little color that I thought about. Why this color? What it meant to me? What it symbolized? The shape? What it meant to me? What it symbolized? I invested a whole lot of thought. It was very meaningful to me because it has a lot of symbolism. It represented, the bottom represented the beginning of my life. The middle represented my middle of my life. The top represented my peak of my life, the successes, and each color represented a different thing. And now that it's shattered, how can I get that back? But that one was more expensive. Why are you not upset? Because this I invested myself in. This I received. Someone else worked hard for it. I just paid for it. I got it as a present. I got it. I found it on sale. I bought it in a garage thing. Because Caleb worked hard for it, it was his. And when it's yours, it's convincing. When is someone convincing? When is he able to convince you? When he himself believes in it. When you believe in it, then it's convincing. But if you don't believe it, you can say logic, you can say beautiful words, it's just not going to have an impact. The sages tell us, Dvarim hayotzim min halev nichnasim el halev. There is a guarantee. Words that come from the heart will enter the heart. If they didn't enter the heart, that means two things. Either the guy doesn't have a heart, or it never came from your heart in the first place. And that's why you weren't able to convince them. But when it's yours, when you bought it, when you owned it, when you worked for it, it comes from the heart, comes from your very core. When you speak, it's yours. You're speaking from your very identity, your very core. That's convincing. And that was the difference between Caleb and Yoshua. Not that Yoshua was any lower than Caleb, any spiritual. He was a giant. He became the future leader of the Jewish people. But in this aspect, in this attribute, in this instance, in this set of scenario, set of circumstances, he was the superior. I would venture to say even that the protection that Yeshua had came to him without any inner turmoil, any inner battle, maybe even higher. Maybe by him there wasn't even any argument, any even, turmoil or to and froing. Maybe Caleb had some doubts, maybe he was unsure, and he came to that conclusion. In other words, maybe it was harder for Caleb to reach that conclusion that he reached, or to reach the protection that he did. And by Yeshua, it was automatic. It's like someone who, I turn off the lights, and you're groping around in the darkness, and you get to the door, and you fall over a little bit, and you stumble, and you get a little hit, you get a little whack there, but you get to the door. And whereas I turn on the lights are on, I just go to the door. And I ask you, the one who went through the lights, as you tell me, what color was the carpet? Oh, I don't know, I didn't pay attention, I was just going through the door. Tell me, how many rows of chairs were there? What shape were there? I have no idea, I have no clue. Ask the guy who was going through the darkness. Oh, there's 5 rows on the right, and one juts out a little bit, and the shape of it is like this, and he can tell you all of the details because he felt that he went through it. It may have taken him longer, there may be more turmoil, more difficulties, more whatever, but he can tell you everything about that experience. That experience was much more meaningful to him than the guy who went in the light, he went to the door. Similarly, maybe for Caleb it wasn't as easy as Yeshua. Maybe for Yeshua there was no doubts, there was no confusions, there was no difficulties. Yeshua didn't need to go and pray anywhere. He went in, he went out, nichnas b'shalom, yatsa b'shalom. He went in peace, he came out in peace. Caleb, he said, hang on, something's going on here. I better go and pray. I'm afraid. I'm afraid that I may see things the way they want to see things. So maybe his level of repellent was not as great as Yeshua, but Yeshua's was superimposed. He fought for it. He worked for it. His words were convincing. And that's why when he spoke, he was able to quieten them. He spoke with conviction. Whereas with Yeshua, he spoke with logic and he was trying to reason with them and trying to do it. Wasn't as convincing, wasn't the same. Which comes to that third point that we began to speak about. God only expects us to try. Don't put limitations upon yourself. Say, I'm not going to get the end result. I'm not going to achieve the end result. That's not for you to worry about. God says, you go, you try. When you go and you try and you sincerely and do it on your own, then what you achieve is very great indeed. And you're able to reach the unattainable. You're able to achieve what you thought was impossible. But because you tried and because you went forth and because you put in the effort, your level of success was way beyond and not consummate to your level of effort, your level of toil. Then you got the gift. We'll stop here.